This presentation is about the new law, the new MO Scholars Scholarship Program here in Missouri. But before we dive into what the ESAs or MO Scholar Program is all about, I would like to talk a little bit about who we are. We are the Children's Education Alliance of Missouri, otherwise known as CEAM, and we are a 501c3 nonprofit, and we are a parent advocacy organization that works on K-12 education legislation. So what that means really essentially is that we are a very small staff here at CEAM of only about 5 full-time staff, but we have thousands of parent advocates and other advocates across the state that have been advocating to expand policies to give families more options to be able to access the best education that they see fit for their children. So we believe that in all forms of education, from public to private to homeschool to virtual, the idea is really just to give parents the opportunity to find the best fit school for their child. And many of the families that we work with, one child may be doing wonderfully at a local public school, but another child may need a private school or a homeschool option to meet their individual needs. And as a parent advocacy organization working on legislation, K-12 legislation, we have been working on this particular bill for about 10 years and been bringing groups of parents to the Capitol on a regular basis to make sure their voices are being heard by the folks making decisions about their child's education. So this takes on the form of going to the Capitol, sending emails, picking up the phone, and a lot of different opportunities to make sure parents are at the table when decisions are being made. So to dive right into what is an ESA or what is the MO Scholars Program? So many may have heard of this as an ESA. When the law was passed, it was called the Empowerment Scholarship Accounts Program, but it is managed by the Treasurer's Office and it is now named the MO Scholars Program. So that is what you'll be hearing going forward. This program is, and I'll dive a little bit more into the structure of funding and what exactly an ESA is, but I'd like to reiterate that this is not a voucher program. This is a tax credit funded program. So essentially that difference is it's not funds that are normally would be like your tax dollars going to your public school. You're not redirecting those funds from a public school to other educational options. But this is all funded by donations. Well, I'll explain a little bit more in detail coming up here shortly. So what an ESA is that it gives your child, your family, $6,375 per year per child to be used for a wide variety of educational purposes. And I'll go through that list here soon. This is not an academic scholarship. This is actually functions more like a grant. So your child does not have to show high grades or disciplinary records. Just if you are qualified, then you can apply to receive these funds. And it is for grades kindergarten through 12th grade and does not roll over into college. This is not a college fund. It was a bill that was just passed last year and will be effective for this coming school year in the fall. And there are similar programs in over 30 states around the country. So we were very excited after 10 years to be able to give this opportunity to families here in Missouri as well. So what can you use the funds for? So you can use those funds to pay for tuition at an accredited private school, for homeschooling, which would include homeschool curriculum, along with therapies and tutoring, technology, transportation, testing, and the list is longer than this, but this just gives you an idea of the wide variety of purposes you can use these funds for. In addition, the way the law is written is you can actually use these funds to go to a public school outside of your local district or to a charter school outside of your district. It is unlikely that public schools will participate in this program, at least in the first year, although we are hoping that they will in future years. Schools do have to voluntarily participate in the program, whether they're an accredited private school or public school. So public schools receive quite a bit more money than the scholarship is allotted for that $6,375, which is why we don't believe they necessarily have an interest in participating in this program as of now. So as far as qualifying, how do you qualify? First of all, you have to live in a city that's over 30,000 in population or greater, or a county with a charter form of government. And a county with a charter form of government are essentially the larger counties surrounding Kansas City and St. Louis. And I will show the list of these cities and counties in just a moment. But in addition to where you live, there are two other ways in which you qualify. If your child has an IEP, or which stands for an individualized education plan, which is what students with special needs have, then you would qualify. And the other way that you would qualify is at the 200% free and reduced lunch rate. So I will also show you a chart of what that actually looks like for your family. For a family of four, that's over $97,000 a year. So it really, it expands to quite a few students around the state. About 50% of students in the state would qualify. And then in addition to that, you do have to have attended a public school for one semester the year prior to the year you're applying for. So for example, if you're applying for this fall to receive the scholarships, your student has to have attended a public school either in the fall or the spring semester of this current school year. Okay, so here's the list of the cities and counties that are over 30,000 or charter counties. So for the cities, St. Louis, Kansas City, Columbia, Jefferson City, Springfield, Joplin, St. Joseph, Cape Girardeau, and Liberty. And then the counties that are have a charter form of government are St. Louis County, Jefferson County, St. Charles County. Those are the ones around St. Louis. And then Jackson County is outside of Kansas City. And then we are told that Clay County is set to become a charter county next year. So if you live in Clay County and not one of those cities, you would have to wait another year to apply for this program. And then here is the chart that shows the income levels for 100% and 200% free and reduced lunch rates. So you don't currently have to be receiving free and reduced lunch. It just, they use this as the metric for determining who would qualify as far as the income eligibility. And the program is going to prioritize students with IEPs and families at the 100% free and reduced lunch rate before they open it up to the 200% free and reduced lunch rate. So just wanted to make sure that was clear. So I'm going to dive right into how this is funded. So I mentioned before what a voucher is and a tax credit funded program is. So kind of to reiterate that other states have a voucher program. We do not in Missouri. In other states, family can take the money that their tax dollars that would normally go to their public school, and then they can redirect those funds to a private school. This is a tax credit funded program, which means it's all raised through donations. And the donors receive 100% tax credit in return for their donation. And this is not a tax deduction, but a tax credit, which means they receive 100% of their tax dollars back. And they can donate up to 50% of what they owe in their state taxes. So for many of us, we don't pay a whole lot in state taxes. So this is really a program that will be funded by very wealthy donors and even corporations. And donations are made to one pool, one larger fund. This is not donors donating to individuals' funds. And then how this program is managed. So this program is currently in the hands of the Treasurer's Office, but the Treasurer's Office will be assigning nonprofits to be managing these accounts. Those nonprofits are called Education Assistance Organizations, or EAOs is what they're referred as, and he can assign up to 10. So those EAOs will be the organizations in which you'll be applying to. They will be the ones that disperse the funds, and they will be overseeing how those funds are being utilized so that there isn't any fraudulent uses of those funds. And they will also be the organizations where donors will be donating to. We do not know yet who these EAOs are. The application period ended just maybe a week or so ago for those EAOs, and we should be hearing hopefully in the next couple of weeks who those organizations are. And then hopefully shortly thereafter, we will have a better understanding of the rest of this process when the application period opens up. So for right now, our organization, it will be the main organization compiling the list of eligible families and assisting families so that we can make sure to direct you to the appropriate EAO and give you some better guidance on this process. So what does this timeline look like? Sort of mentioned a few things here. So the state treasurer's office, since they are in charge of this program, they are responsible for making the rules. So when the law was passed, there were quite a few things in there that many of us were trying to understand and interpret, and things that were not in there as far as the application period and how those things actually work. So it's up to the state treasurer to determine those things. The rules were released at the beginning of the month to the public, and we are currently at the very end of the public comment period. I actually believe that ended today. The public could submit like concerns or suggestions on what the treasurer's office had released. And then they are reviewing all the comments that come in, and hopefully within the next week or two, the final rules will be released and we will have more guidance on exactly how this program is going to work. And then probably in a couple weeks, those EAOs will be announced as well, and they will have some of their own processes as well to guide families. And then the donations can be made starting July 1st, although EAOs will be working to solicit donations and have those donors in place before July 1st, so that hopefully when July 1st hits, the program will get funded very quickly, and that the program will be fully funded by the beginning of the school year. Even if it's not fully funded, they can utilize the funds that have been donated to start the program. And the applications, again, I mentioned we don't know when those will happen, but it could happen as late as July. So I just want to give everyone that warning, that heads up, to be patient. This is part of the process of implementing a program. But we are hoping maybe in the next couple of month or two before July that families will be able to apply for this program. And then in addition, on the timeline, I did mention that this is not a voucher program, it's all funded by donations. But in addition to that, there's a 5-year hold harmless clause on the public schools. So for every student leaving a public school, they will still continue to receive 100% of their funds. So in some cases, for some schools, if they have a few students leaving, they still receive all of their money. It's almost a benefit to the public schools to have fewer children in the classroom and still the same amount of money that they can allocate to fewer children. And then CEAM's role, we will not be an EAO. We will not be who you are submitting your application to directly. But as I mentioned, we will be giving you guidance and letting you know and helping you through this whole process and giving you the most up-to-date information as it comes out. And then we will be working as well through that enrollment process leading up to it, making sure parents have the appropriate paperwork and everything they need to apply. And in some cases, we may have some in-person enrollment events as well. We will be assisting EAOs with soliciting donors. We are currently working on educating schools and encouraging them to sign on and participate in this program. And then last but not least, we will be protecting and expanding this legislation. So in some other states, there have been lawsuits and other legislation that has tried to remove or diminish the program in some way, shape, or form, although that's not proven to be successful in other states. In fact, it's been quite the opposite, where states have to start with a very limited program. So I know there's probably some folks on this call who maybe are frustrated that they see that they maybe don't currently qualify based on where they live or other requirements. But you have to sometimes just start small, get your foot in the door, and show legislators that this program does work, that there's a demand for it. And as soon as this program is up and running and we can show that, then there will be less fear around this, and it will be much easier at that point to expand the legislation to more areas of the state and to expand the dollar amount, expand the number of students that will receive the funds. So this is just the very beginning, very first program of its kind in this state. So if there's anyone on that, is frustrated by some of the limitations, I encourage you to reach out to me and we can talk about ways to advocate. And, we take trips to the Capitol all the time and would love for you to have your frustrations heard by folks that can make some changes around this. And Peter, I feel like I should maybe take a pause. I know is there any specific questions that have come up, or should I wait till the end to address all of them?
Well, there's a few questions, Cici, that relate to the geography eligibility. And so maybe it's worth reiterating that the two geographies include the counties, the charter counties that you mentioned, those four: St. Charles, St. Louis County, Jackson County, and Jefferson County, and then cities with a population of over 30,000. So if that would include cities like Joplin, but that does not mean that the county that Joplin is in, qualifies. Same thing for Springfield, Columbia, Jefferson City, Cape Girardeau, and St. Joseph. They are all municipalities out there at the 30,000 population level that do qualify, but their surrounding counties do not.
That's a great point that you bring up. I'm glad that question was asked, because even beyond what you're particularly addressing as far as the county is concerned, you do have to live in the city limits itself in order to qualify, which I know is very frustrating. And also, in addition, in some of those cities, the public school district lies outside of the city limits. So you can be living outside of the city limits and be in that public school district, receiving transportation to that public school district, paying taxes into that public school district, but you do in fact have to live within the city limits. So we have had a number of parents come to us with these concerns, and many did reply in the public comment period with this particular concern. And I hope it's one of the first ones that can be addressed and changed, hopefully with future legislation. I don't know that it's going to be addressed in the rulemaking, unfortunately, because the law seems pretty clear. I don't know that he has the flexibility to change that, but that is definitely one thing that we are hoping to change. So how do I sign up? I don't know if I've mentioned this yet, but the program is capped at 25 million, which is the equivalent of 4,000 scholarships. And this is on a first come, first serve basis. So it is very important that you get your application in on the very first day. So I really encourage you to get on our email list and text list to receive up-to-date information so you can be prepared with everything you'll need for that, and get on the very first day to submit your application. So you can get on that list by going to our website, which is where you went to RSVP for this event, which is showmeschooloptions.org. And you can also sign up by texting the code MO ESA to the number 52886. So those are the two easiest ways to sign up. And I'm actually going to share, do another screen share here and show you the website to familiarize yourself a little bit more with where things are, where you can get that information and where to sign up. So here's our showmeschooloptions.org. And when you first signed up for this event, you would have gone to the very bottom here. Here's all of our events. So if you got on late today and missed some of this and want another opportunity, we have another info session, virtual one tomorrow at noon, another one Saturday at 1, and a Spanish one at 2 o'clock on Saturday, just following that. And then we have some other ones coming up in Joplin and Springfield in person, in Liberty, more in Springfield and Joplin. And then in addition to the events, you can sign up for updates here. When you go to the website initially, it will give you the pop-up form when you first come on, and you can sign up here. If you're still a little uncertain as to whether or not you qualify to receive funds, then you can actually go to Understand ESAs here and go to Does Your Child Qualify? And it walks you through this survey, this 8-question survey, and will give you a report and tell you whether or not you qualify. And then under that, understanding ESAs are a lot of what was mentioned here, brought up here today, including we just added this frequently asked questions page. And then my email is right up here. So if you want to reach out to me directly, you're welcome to. That's cc@ceamteam.org.